From Drop Biscuit Studios and the people who brought you Wondery's Inside Jaws, Inside The Exorcist, and Inside Psycho comes You Talking to Me? Bite-sized Hollywood history with plenty of bite. How Michael Keaton almost ruined Batman. This is You Talking to Me? I'm Mark Ramsey. It's almost something we take for granted. Every hit on the silver screen will feature capes and cowls, spandex and superpowers, familiar Marvel or DC characters in spin-offs and reboots of spin-offs. Well, it wasn't always so. There was a time before the onslaught of superhero movies, a time in the 80s when there was only the distant memory of Superman in 1978. That's when Hollywood announced Batman. Batman? That's crazy. After all, the character was best known infamous, really, for the campy, silly, bam-pow comic strippy TV series from the 1960s, remember? DC had worked long and hard since then, trying to bring more gravitas, more Dark Knight to the character. But would you believe Batman wasn't all that popular? The film rights were secured back in 1979, but it took several years for the film version to crawl out of Warner Brothers' development hell. In 1985, quirky up-and-coming film auteur Tim Burton was hired to oversee the project, and he had typically odd ideas. Warner Brothers wanted an action star as Batman, right? Names tossed around included Mel Gibson and Harrison Ford, and Tim Burton, well, he chose a different direction altogether. He chose Michael Keaton. Now, this was the late 80s, and it was not the elevated and seriously dramatic Michael Keaton of Birdman or Spotlight. Oh no, it was the zany, comic Michael Keaton of Mr. Mom and Night Shift and Beetlejuice. This was Burton's choice for Batman, by now the most somber of superheroes. Even in those days, long before the influential sway of the internet and social media, fans did what fans do best. They went nuts. Utterly ballistic. Here was a character people had grown up imagining, and almost nobody besides Tim Burton had imagined him as Michael Keaton. The uproar was deafening. 50,000 letters. Yes, letters, remember those? 50,000 letters were received from fans demanding that Keaton be fired and the role recast with almost anyone else. Producer Mark Kenton recalled that the racket was so loud, even the Wall Street Journal devoted a front-page article to the utter folly of Michael Keaton as Batman. "You can't buy that kind of publicity," Kenton later said. Ever the savvy Hollywood insider, Mark. Publicity, yes, but Warner Brothers was getting cold feet, and it was up to Tim Burton to ease the fears of Keaton and the cast and crew. "The comfort zone was Tim Burton," Keaton said. "I knew I at least could put my trust in someone." Keaton continued, "Had it not been Tim Burton, I wouldn't even have read the thing, but I figured if it's coming from him, it's worth reading. And then I knew immediately who this guy was. The risk came in because I think of the scale of this thing. But if this character doesn't work, this movie doesn't work. Now, I kind of knew that, but I didn't want to think about that. Or I was a dead man." Tim saw something in Michael's eyes, the casting director remembered. He was a fine actor, but the eyes, that's what got him the job. And then, Batman was released, and the anguish ceased, the complaints quieted, and the kudos erupted. Here was more than a surprising performance. It was reserved, it was simmering, it was intense. It set the bar for every other actor who would ever play the role. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening right now, and give us 5 superhero stars. That's You Talking to Me. I'm Mark Ramsey.